What's going on, guys? We are live. If you can hear me, drop a comment down below. We're scheduled for 8 p.m., so we're going to give it a couple minutes to allow some people to join, and we will get the show underway. Again, if you can hear me, just post a comment. Let me know if you can hear me all right. I'm going to give it about 5 minutes before we get started. For those of you that are in today's session, we're going to go into some wholesale sourcing. And in addition to that, I don't just want to cover the actual supplier sourcing, but I want to focus on some key steps and actionable steps that you guys can take in order to start your wholesale business and scale your wholesale business. So we're going to get into that. I want to make this an interactive session so that you guys can ask questions. I can provide answers. Again, we're going to shoot for about the half an hour time frame. And once we start creeping up on that half-hour mark, I'll get to all the questions. So again, we'll give it 5 minutes or so. Let some people join in. I don't want to get started too early. So if you guys are in here now, just be patient for a few minutes. If you have any preliminary questions, feel free to post them in the comments section. If there's anything specific that you'd like me to cover in this session, I'd be more than happy to address that. I see Hungry Gamer is in. Cryptus. Poppy Brad. How you doing, Cryptus? Post a comment if you're in, guys. Let me know you're here. I want to hear from you. Any questions you have, like I said, anything preliminary, fire it away, and we will get going. Hello, hello. How we doing? So if you guys are here tonight, that means that you are looking for information to, start your business, scale your business, whatever your situation is, we can cover it, right? If you're experienced in wholesale, I'm going to bring some knowledge to the table on that, on taking your business to the next level. If you are totally new to wholesale, that's also okay, because we're going to dive into some content in that department as well. So in just a moment, I got a question here. I mainly do PL, private label, but I also want to start wholesale. Do you advise doing these both modules together? That's a good question. And I would advise focusing on one business model. And then once you've scaled up that business model to the point where it is sustainable and it has its own revenue coming in, then I would move to the next business model. So whether that means having a private label product that you have successfully built and you have a streamlined process with employees and just a system in place that's almost operating without your direct input of work, at that point you can deviate from that business and move into wholesale and learn that endeavor. Same goes vice versa. That's actually one of my goals long term, is to get into private label. And my goal is for, in order to get into private label, my goal is to have built out numerous wholesale accounts, to the point where those wholesale accounts are generating me income that I don't have to necessarily put my direct input of a work for, and they're operating on their own. I can then take my time and allocate it toward new projects, new endeavors, such as private label. So I see some questions rolling in, and we are going to get to all these questions, but I want to start with the sourcing as promised. And if you guys have attended any of the last sourcing sessions, we're going to feed off of a spreadsheet that I created. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So you guys should be able to see my Excel spreadsheet right now. If you can't, let me know. If you guys missed the last sourcing sessions, that's okay. I quickly want to cover my product criteria for sourcing and wholesale, and then we'll just jump right into the actual sourcing. So product criteria is up above. Amazon, not on the listing, right? I don't want to compete with Amazon if they're on the listing permanently. My price point, I would like to be above $18. And if my price point is below $18, I need my product to move fast. So I'd like that sales rank to be in the 4-digit range. I need a minimum of 20 product sales a month. That's, kind of my minimum threshold. I like to have the product at a certain amount of reviews, right? That shows me that it's a little bit established and has some history behind it. And I like to keep those reviews over 3.5 stars. More than one seller on the listing, but less than 10 to 12. This gives me a solid foundation for competition. Ideally, the lower number of sellers, the better. So I like to keep it under 5 sellers. Anytime I go above 5 sellers, I really have to see a product that's moving with some good volume. So that's something that I've adjusted over, the months and almost about a year now of doing wholesale, is that I started kind of buying into inventory that might have had a bit too many sellers on them. The buy box didn't always rotate, and I had to make adjustments accordingly. So that is my sourcing criteria. There's really not a ton of a secret behind it. But really what we're going to get into is the sourcing. So this is a spreadsheet that we started in the first couple videos. And what this spreadsheet accomplishes is it's essentially a contact list for you to reach out to companies, right? You're building yourself a CRM, a customer relationship manager, and you want to be organized throughout this process, because if you don't, if you have different things all over the place, it's just going to make the wholesale process a lot harder to navigate. I would say one of the biggest challenges in wholesale is the fact that it can be so time consuming, in the sense that there's a lot of relationships and systems to manage. So you have to, constantly be in contact with these different companies. You reach out to them, they don't respond, they reach out to you, and it's this back and forth communication process that is, ongoing. You get the account, you go through the price list, you send a purchase order. So it takes time. And I've said this in other videos, it takes time to get wholesale accounts set up. But once those accounts are in fact set up, they can essentially, more or less be put on autopilot if you build out the right systems. So I just clicked on this last product sheet, and what we're going to do, this was actually a good product that we found last time. It was in fact sold by the brand, because we can see down here beneath the buy box that ships from Amazon and is sold by Hickory Farms. And the brand up here is Hickory Farms. So it is sold by the brand. The only reason I still say it's a good product is because there are other sellers selling it. If it were just the brand selling it, I would stay away from it, because that tells me, it's a private label, or they've taken the whole retail on Amazon process in-house. Maybe they have one third party doing it. So that's why I say above 1 seller all the time, but ideally below 5. So right now we're at 4 here. Keep a chart look great. It does well during Q4. So from here, I would, which we already did, I would put the information for the company. And here we had a website for them to go to. But the process is just beginning here, because now what we're doing is we're sourcing these other storefronts, right? So I'm going into these other storefronts now, and I'm going into the products that they sell, and I'm scrolling through their products. So, let's open this. That's a great price point, $100. And I pull this latter part of the URL off so that I can see the product with all of the sellers on it. So this product is sold by Amazon, and Keep It doesn't even have data. Sometimes that happens where Keep It doesn't show data. So because it's sold by Amazon, they're very competitive. They have 2,000 in stock. That's not something of interest to me. We'll pass. And then, we would go to the next product. We would open this up. I do have this software, free software installed. It's called DS Amazon or DS AMZ Quick View. And what that accomplishes is it allows me to see a picture of what's going on without actually clicking on the product listing. So I can see if the product's sold by Amazon. I can see the number of competitive offers. I can see what the sales rank is like. I'll still most of the time click on the product just to take a quick peek at the Keepa chart. And then, we're just going to keep continuing this process of um, finding more and more products. This product looks like it has a bit high amount of sellers on it, but maybe it's not this company that we're interested in because they have a lot of sellers. But what you could do with this listing is you can now go through all of these sellers' storefronts, because chances are, like if you reached out to this company and let's say you got an account with them and the items were profitable, well, there's 17, 18 other people or other businesses that are on the product listing that are also selling that product. Chances are those sellers are also selling more profitable product. And this is the process by which we narrow down into a more niche category, which is called storefront stalking. And that's a key tactic of sourcing that I've used to, scale my business. So I'll go through, I'll pick and choose just some of these storefronts for explanation purposes. But you would want to go through every one of them, unless the only time I wouldn't go through it is if it's the brand direct or if it's, an exclusive type product category where maybe that company strictly sells products for this brand or maybe stuffed animal products. And in that case, I might take a quick glance at it, but chances are I'm going to have more opportunity by going to storefronts that sell a variety of products. However, we can still find some opportunity with products in specific niche categories. So again, and this is what I would do. And here we're already seeing off the bat, some products that fit our criteria. If we go back here, right? Amazon not on the listing, price point above 18, 1 to 10 sellers, or really over one seller, under 10. So, maybe we get past the first few products, they're sold by Amazon, but we get here, $17, it's an acceptable price point. So I would open this in a new tab and I would type in on Google the name of the company, input my information here, and then contact them the following day. I would go to this one. This one looks good too. Great rank and patio. I'd imagine this one might be a little seasonal. So let's see, the season's picking up now. No, not seasonal to the summer. More seasonal to actually outside the summer, if anything. But it looks like it's picked up quite a bit recently. It looks like they have MAP pricing. That tells me, or the way I know that is the price is remaining pretty stable at $33.99, more or less. And then I would open up a new tab. I would type in the name of the brand. I don't know how to say that. Type that into Google, go to the website, contact, and look, boom, wholesale contact request. You can do that. You can call them directly. Oftentimes I prefer that. Again, you have to gauge what you're getting into, right? Oftentimes calls, they can be a little time consuming because you call them and it might just lead to, hey, fill out our website inquiry or send us an email. So the nice part about calls, and I've said this so many times before, is that you can hear tonality that you just cannot get through an email, through a contact inquiry. It's huge, and it's closed me accounts. It is sounding like a real person, a real business owner, and not so much focusing on selling on Amazon. It's just having a conversation with these brand owners that is going to get you more wholesale accounts, and building relationships and following up and and all these different things. So we would do that. I'll take a peek at this contact form. Sometimes I like to look at the contact form and see if there's anything about Amazon, because sometimes these companies will just say on their website, like, we are not accepting Amazon sellers. And at that point, you kind of have to make a decision if you're going to even bother with the company, or, what you're going to do in that situation. So from here, we would just add that store to our spreadsheet, and we would just keep moving along. So now we have another product listing where we can look at more storefronts, 11 more storefronts, and go through those. So you guys see, this process is never going to end. And you might be asking yourselves, well, why is, I got someone telling me my mic is cutting out. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. If you can't hear me, let me know. But I just want to discuss that for a moment. You guys might ask, why, Brad, are you going through, why are you giving these products away, right? Why are you doing this? Well, it's funny, because the two reasons. Reason number one is that the purpose of this is not for me to give you products, it's to show you the process by which I go through, and my thought process and rationale behind actually finding the products. There's a good chance that you might reach out to all these companies and find no success in them. That's not the goal of this video. The goal of this video is to show you my thought process through sifting and searching through storefronts. The other component of why I share this information is because there are thousands upon thousands of leads out there, and products on Amazon, off Amazon, opportunities that you just would never imagine even exist. And that's the key, guys, is there's just so much information that I'm not even in a 30-minute video, I'm not even scratching a 0.0000 whatever percent of what is actually out there. So just to put things in perspective for you, again, we would just keep going through here, searching. Looks like this company sells a lot by the same brand. They have a handful of brands, only 6 pages. So we would go through there, and then we would go to the next one, and similar brand. Looks like the toy stuffed animal space, some cute dogs. 108 pages. Look at that. We got 108 pages here. It looks like it's mostly stuff by the same company, but again, we can go through that at another time. Products, more. There's just more, right? It does not end. So, right, you guys might start thinking, well, this is very overwhelming. I'm supposed to contact 10 to 20 companies a day, and then I have to have those companies to contact, so I have to actually source the companies 10 to 20 every day so that I have those companies to contact. And that's what I did for a period of time. I would source by night and call by day, or send emails by day. And I was only really reaching out to about 10 to 20 companies at that point. Now, what you could do is, once you get good at this process, is you can develop a storefront sheet of a whole bunch of storefronts in here. Let's say you've accumulated a solid network of storefronts of like 20 storefronts. You can hire a VA, train them, and teach them to go through the storefronts based on XYZ criteria, and generate you this. You've now completely outsourced that sourcing process. And I have an ongoing spreadsheet of storefronts that I continue to add to, on a weekly basis, so my VA can go through each storefront. And the VA has so much, there's just so much he can go through that it's never ending. There's always work for the VA to do. So I wouldn't be too concerned about What if I don't have enough storefronts? The more you do this process, the more you dive deep and go down that rabbit hole, the more plethora of information you're going to find. So with that, you've now taken that process completely, outsourced it, and now you have time to call instead of 20 companies. Um, instead of 50 companies a week, now maybe you call 75. So this is going to lead me into my next topic of discussion that I want to cover, and we're at about the halfway mark with the video. So I want to transition from the sourcing component to the my experience, lessons I've learned, scaling the business, and then we'll get into some questions after. So for those of you guys that are asking questions, I promise we will get to all these questions towards the end of the video. So in referring to scaling up your business, right? The number one way to scale your business is to just contact more companies. You know, you might want to hear more than that, but I promise you that is all you need to hear. I was contacting about 15 to 20 companies a day last year. This year I was contacting, I took a bit of about a month's break because I needed some catching up to do, but I was contacting about 100 to 115 companies per week. What happened to my account closure rate is it skyrocketed. It's that simple, right? This is a sales job, and the more companies you reach out to, the more accounts you're going to close. I just can't say that enough, but you have to make sure you're reaching out to the right companies. How do you know you're reaching out to the right kinds of companies? You are doing this process that I reference, right? Storefront stalking, reverse sourcing, different methods that I have covered in other videos, and that's how you determine you're reaching out to the right companies. And another key as you scale up is really, it's so important to stay organized through this process, guys. Whether that means you have to get a CRM, whether that means you build your own CRM. I've primarily built my own where I'm operating on this spreadsheet type format. And it's, I've built my own type of a system that I can read and I could teach to someone else. They have some good softwares out there. I tried some of them. They weren't really for me. I found it more efficient to just use what I had built myself. So it's very important that you stay organized. It's just so key because this is managing relationships, keeping track, right? I use the Google calendars to mark when I'm going to follow up with companies. I use notes on my Mac to organize what price lists are obtained weekly, and I share these with my assistants, and we have a nice workflow going on. So it takes time to build these things out, but the key is staying organized, and just as you scale up, you have to stay organized. That is absolutely key. Another point I do want to cover in terms of scaling your business is I'm just making myself a note here because I have one more point that I want to address for the more experienced sellers. But in terms of scaling your business, in 2021, I've told you guys I made it a goal to contact as many companies as I could throughout the week. What has come with this is more account closure, more profitable items. But I've shifted a bit in my approach of investing in wholesale, right? Previously, I was very much so focused on, all right, I got to get wholesale accounts that are super high volume, super profitable, and I got to invest, a sizable amount of money with those accounts to show to the company, hey, we're serious. That's kind of its own method, but I've made it a point to go much wider as opposed to deeper, and it's proved very, very profitable for me, and it's helped me scale my business this year much quicker than I did in 2020. I made a video about this. It was my last video, and it covered the number one tactic that helped me scale my business. Aside from contacting more companies, it was to spread my risk, right? And I used this analogy with the stock market, something a lot of you guys can probably understand. If Right, let's compare it to the market. So every wholesale account is its own, stock, if you want to call it. It's its own security that generates you a certain amount of profit over time. Let's say we have $10,000 to invest, and we have an option of allocating that money to two wholesale accounts. Each of those accounts is going to generate us $1,000 in monthly profit. We have another option where we can take our investment and invest in four wholesale accounts, and those accounts will generate us each $500 a month in monthly profit. So we're at a 20% ROI in both scenarios. Let's assume that both those scenarios on all the wholesale accounts, they sell through in the same amount of time. So the turn rate is the same. The profit ends up coming out to the same. It's just that with option A, you have two wholesale accounts, each generating you 1,000. With option B, you have four wholesale accounts, each generating you 500 per month. What's the best scenario? Well, if all variables are equal, what you gain in option B is diversification, because oftentimes what happens over years of working with suppliers, or months if you're newer, it might happen where the company is out of stock for 6 months, right? And we're seeing that with COVID now. Companies out of stock, or we're also seeing wholesale accounts or companies, they can't sustain their vendor orders, so they have to drop certain vendors, or they choose to get off Amazon entirely and they take it in-house and all the vendors are gone. So with option A, if one of my wholesale accounts falls off, half of my business falls off. With option B, only a quarter of my accounts are falling off if something drops. So there's been other, very knowledgeable people in the wholesale industry, YouTubers, that have talked about this, and that is diversifying your risk, building a house, right? Starting with the foundation and building up from there. And the real way to build a sustainable business is by relying on a multitude of different accounts. You have your core players that generate you the most amount of revenue, and then you build out your system to where you have a multitude of accounts that supplement each other and coexist and really help scale your business. That is, those 2 points are the fastest way to grow a wholesale business, in my opinion. Contact more companies and spread your risk. Diversify your investment, invest in multitude of wholesale accounts. Not only does that accomplish scaling, but it accomplishes risk mitigation, because like I said, if one drops, you have more, but you are investing a smaller amount of money in a more numerous amount of accounts. It's almost like, going back to that stock market example, it's almost like with option B, you're investing in an index fund because you're buying into a basket of a little bit of the top S&P 500 companies, whereas with option A, maybe you're buying one or two securities. Well, what happens if one of those securities shoots down? Half your portfolio shoots down. So something to consider there. That's a big lesson that I've learned over time in wholesale. Number 3 with wholesale, in terms of scaling, is get creative. And what I mean by this is, do not limit yourself to being an Amazon seller, right? That's the number one route to failure, in my opinion. If you market yourself as an Amazon seller and that's what you do, and that's all you have, you're not really of value to the company, right? Because anyone can do that. Anyone can buy their products and sell them on Amazon. What is that accomplishing? It's not. And that's what the biggest reason why companies are not taking on more vendors is because they see no value in adding an additional vendor. It's just, and it makes perfect sense. Why would they, when they're selling to 10 vendors who are buying from them, and one vendor is just going to take away from their buy box percentage, and it's going to cause them to purchase less inventory, their existing vendors. So how do we get creative? How do we diversify? Well, number one, get a website. If you don't have a website, I would say get one, because you can now market a website along with your Amazon storefront. Number two, look into partnering with brick and mortar stores. You guys will see, as you start to reach out to more companies, that a lot of companies will take you on as a vendor if you have a brick and mortar. If you know someone in your family, friends, close network or relationship that has any type of a brick and mortar or access to a brick and mortar, reach out to them. Brick and mortar is hurting right now, guys. And I'm sure it wouldn't be, especially if you know the person, I'm sure it wouldn't totally be out of the question for you to not only get a wholesale account with that brick and mortar, but you're helping them too, because you're adding another stream of revenue for that brick and mortar. So that's key. Not only are we just sourcing on Amazon, we should be sourcing just all of our resources, exhausting all the resources that you have, so that you can really optimize yourself and put yourself in a position that makes you stand out from the other vendors who are contacting these companies, right? The sooner you realize the pain points of these companies, you're able to address these pain points like clockwork. I mean, I know why these companies are not selling to Amazon sellers, and I know it because I've experienced it, and I just keep just reading some of the comments. We'll get to these questions in a minute, but I know what their pain points are, because I've listened to what they are. I've listened to them hundreds, thousands of times, and I've formulated my pitch and my propositions to navigate and help the company work through those. Do I get rejected? 9 times out of 10, probably. Maybe I'm a little better than that. I do a little better than that because I have some experience with it, but I get rejected often. Do I overcome rejection? Sometimes. Does something come of it? Very few times, but it does. The more persistent you are, the more likely you are to get the account. You guys have nothing to lose. So persistency is key as well. But another thing with wholesale is that we have to know when to quit, right? If the company has not been selling to Amazon sellers for 5 years, they've taken the whole thing in-house, or they've outsourced the whole thing to a third party, that's probably going to be a thank you and move on situation. So those are some points on scaling your business. I want to cover a topic real quick, 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll go to the questions. Let's say you've built out some accounts, right? And this is for the a little bit more experienced sellers, who maybe have 6 months or so of wholesale under their belt. They've built out a few accounts. Maybe you're one of several sellers on the listing. Now we're looking to take our business to the next level. In order to take our business to the next level, there are a few things have to happen. We have to have at least one exclusive relationship, in my opinion. Exclusive relationships are incredibly valuable, because, for obvious reasons, you get all the sales, but B, you are building a partnership with another company, a contractual agreement, something that's in writing, something that's tangible. And you can build out this exclusive agreement, and you extend the contract for a certain period of time, and you get all the sales on the product listing, but you help the company launch new products. You help them with Amazon PPC. You optimize the listings, and you do all of these different things to help grow the brand. That's what companies want to hear, is how you are going to help grow their brand, um, gain more traction on Amazon, right? If you're an Amazon seller, don't just sell on Amazon. You have to be an expert in what goes into the Amazon space. And this is for brands. This is a different model than working with distributors, right? If you're looking to work with distributors, you don't have to necessarily take this sales type approach. Personally, I focus on brands. I am also trying to mix in distributors as well, just because a more diversified portfolio is a more financially stable portfolio. But that's the key, guys, is taking your business to the next level. Looks like getting into some exclusive agreements, getting into some agreements where maybe if they're not exclusive, because those are hard to get, maybe they are capped, right? They're only selling to 4 sellers max, and it's done. That is a close-knit relationship with the brand that you can have, and that tomorrow there's not going to be another seller on the listing. A month, 2 months, 6 months from now, there's not going to be another seller on the listing. So how much your sales volume is over a period of time. That is key as well. So those are my topics for this video. We'll get into some questions. So I'll start scrolling through some of these questions and we'll get them answered. But guys, that's it. Wholesale it's a very simple business model. Right? You're reaching out to companies. You're a retail store on Amazon, and you're buying at lower pricing in exchange for higher volume, and then you're selling at retail. Right? The business model is incredibly simple. It's been going on for hundreds, thousands of years. Right? Buy low, sell high. There's no secret to it. It's just not an easy thing to do. It takes time, it takes energy, work, effort, follow-ups, relationships, managing relationships. It takes time. So it's not quick money. It's upfront work. But once, like I've said in other videos, once you've built out those streams of revenue, they can be more passive down the road. So let's see here. So we answered that question on PL versus wholesale. Yeah, in that department, it's tough to do 2 business models simultaneously, and to really dedicate your time and effort to 2 different business models at the same time. So like I said, focus on one, master it, build it out, automate it, and then focus on the next. How many calls do you do a day? For a period of time, I was doing about 25 to 30 calls. I took about a month's break because I was inundated with price lists. I had, we were going through a bunch of price lists. I had to determine where I was going to make some investments. So I physically couldn't call that many companies because I had too many accounts to invest in. I had to start making some buying decisions and sending some POs. So actually today I'm starting to get back on the calls, and I'm contacting roughly 20 companies per day. What should be done first, hunting a product or finding or getting brands approval? Hunting a product or finding. Well, I went through the sourcing process for you. So do that process first, accumulate a spreadsheet of, a certain amount of companies, and then start contacting. Hey, I'm about to set up my Amazon account. Should I do RA and book flipping or jump right into wholesale? That's a good question. If you have not sold on Amazon at all before, I would advise to start in RA or a lower risk business model like that, just because it does a few things. It helps you learn the process of dealing with Amazon and operating a seller account. You get to send in inventory into Amazon, see how that process goes, what goes into it, prepping products, and it allows you to build some capital in the upfront stages as you're getting ready for wholesale. That's how I started. I did do book flipping for a short period of time. I did RA for about a year and a half, and I still to this day do a little bit of RA in my business, but it's high profit margin RA. So like a year ago, I was doing RA where I was just going into stores and scanning and for hours and trying to find product and sending up big batches to Amazon and just accumulating as much product I could get from the retail stores. Now I focus if I'm going to do RA, I don't go into a store blindly. I somewhere I got a lead and I will just know the product is in the store and I'll go and just pick it up because it's easy. Um, so RA is fun in that sense, right? If you can really find profitable items, um, it's almost like a hunt. But that was the issue with my business in its early stages was that I was constantly hunting for inventory and I needed something more sustainable, something that I could just have replenishable items on a regular basis, and that's what led me into wholesale. Where would you hire a VA? I used Online Jobs PH. You pay for it. I believe it's somewhere around $60 a month, $60 a month, but you only need it until you find your VA. Once you found your VA, you can cancel the software. It's just a platform for hiring virtual assistants, right? There's some great virtual assistants all over the globe, domestic, foreign. Mine is in the Philippines. I also have a couple domestic employees. So there's a variety of routes you can go. Some people will tell you Fiverr. That's more for one-off projects, temporary jobs. You would go to Fiverr for a consistent VA looking, to be hired on a part-time or full-time basis. I would go with Online Jobs PH. That's where I got mine. How do I grow a mustache? Unrelated to wholesale, but don't worry, I didn't have facial hair for years when I was younger. So it takes time. Just like building a wholesale business takes time to grow facial hair. Um, can you make an example of a company call? I want to know how to do it, please. Um, again, guys, this is going to come with experience. Nobody can lay out an exact framework for you. I encourage you to take the sourcing and knowledge that I give you and jump into it. Right. My first phone call was terrible. I didn't know what to say. I was, all over the place, and it got rejected, and it was just ended up with a okay, sorry, goodbye. That was it. So once you start contacting companies, you're going to be able to see what they want and what they're looking for. And you'll be able to take it from there. As far as company calls, expect to be rejected. Just go into the call thinking that plan for the worst and almost frame your argument in such a way, not argument, but frame your conversation in such a way where you lowball their expectations, right? So maybe you point out 5 things that's wrong with selling on Amazon. And then the company's like, oh, this person actually understands. Yeah, and now you guys are suddenly on the same page. And then you take them through this conversation that sort of leaves your solution as the best solution. I read a really good book. It was written by a um, a top hostage negotiator. It's called Never Split the Difference. I believe the name of the gentleman is Chris. I can't think of his last name, but it's Chris. Never Split the Difference. If you are serious about wholesale, if you are serious about building relationships and sales, great book. Never split the difference. I would highly advise reading that. It's an easy read. So next question is, why don't you use Keep a Product Finder for reverse sourcing? I do that at some points. Keep is a great tool for sourcing, for just viewing sales data. Keep is my Bible in terms of making buying decisions, right? I never invest in anything without thoroughly analyzing the Keep It chart. There you go, Christopher Voss, great book. Next question is, thanks Steve for posting that. Next question is, one of my biggest selling products has become increasingly competitive. I've been selling this product for over a year. It used to sell 300 to 500 units a month, but now it only sells 50 to 100. I've been working direct with this brand to buy and sell this product. How can I initiate a conversation to have them consider an exclusive agreement with me and capping the sellers on the listing? That's a great question. So I'll give you my 2 cents on that. I've experienced the same thing, right? What you can do in a situation like that is, I don't know what your relationship is with the company, how many conversations you've had. For some companies, it might just be done, hey, we email purchase orders back and forth, and it's not too much beyond that. Other companies, I talk to the brand owners for hours about, their kids, and it's just a very close-knit relationship. So, depending on your level of intimacy with the company, what you can do to frame that is create like a value sheet, right? Create a sheet, a template, a PDF format, or something like that, outlining all of the issues that are taking place, right? What it's doing to the brand. Maybe more sellers are violating MAP. Maybe by adding sellers, it might seem as though to the company they're getting more revenue up front, but the issue is they're actually getting less revenue long term, and they're losing close relationships long term, because every account that they add is taking away from their existing vendors. So maybe you do a projection, right, and you value what it looks like over time. So let's say they get 10 POs for $2,000 right up front. They're making X amount of money. Well, what is that going to turn into if half of the vendors stop buying from them because of the competition, and the buy box only sustains so many sellers? So approach it like that. Outline the pain points, match them with pleasure points, and leave your solution as their best solution. Again, I don't know what your level of intimacy is with the brand. That's going to largely depend on how long you've been working with them, how many conversations you've had. But in order for them to really consider an exclusive agreement, you really have to bring something to the table. And I would not ask for an exclusive right away. That's something that comes with time. It's something where the brand owner really has to see the value of cutting off all of their existing buyers and going with you, right? You have to have a company, something behind you that is showing that you can optimize their listing, increase their sales velocity, maybe take their products to different marketplaces like your website or Walmart, or get them into distribution. It's really a big undertaking with an exclusive agreement. Launching new products is a huge one. I do have one exclusive agreement, and we just launched a new product for the brand, which was awesome. It took a lot of time to get going, and it's an ongoing work in progress, but we finally launched a product for that brand, which was huge. And it just gains, so much trust in that relationship, because the brand owner trusts me as the seller on Amazon, and we're introducing new products that they have into the Amazon channel, and not just piggybacking on existing products that are out there. Key, right? And a lot of the brand owners will, they're not going to make you buy into a product that doesn't exist on Amazon. my brand owner, sent me samples for free, and we got it up and going, and we, launched the product. So I'm just looking here. Catherine, feeding off what we were just talking about. I have a great relationship with my sales rep and not the brand owner. Building an exclusive relationship with outside of the brand owner or outside of someone who has a really decision-making role at the company is difficult. But again, if you're dealing with the sales rep, lay out some of the situations, the pain points. How can you guys bring it down? Some sellers, or at least cap sellers, right? Maybe they have a certain amount of sellers, right, that they've added. Well, here's reason X, Y, and Z as to why it should be capped, because it's actually, harming your existing vendors. And before we know it, if we continue adding more vendors, the buy box on Amazon does not support more than 10 vendors. So anything beyond 10 is going to enable, or it's going to disable us from buying from you, and map that out, right? Here's your sales, here's your division of the buy box, and here's physically how much we can purchase. It's a great brand. It's done great for us, but unfortunately we would have to let it go if we're going to continue to saturate it with sellers. And it's just not a good look for a brand to have 20 sellers on a listing. It's just less control. Things are all over the place. Pricing policies get violated, so on and so forth. Will you make a video on further steps like creating shipment plans and how you manage the seller account, what you do if you're not getting the buy box for a while? Sure, yeah. At some point in the future, we can possibly make a video on creating a shipping plan. That's been an idea of mine, maybe sending direct to Amazon from a supplier, or just shipping it from your own location. If you're not getting the buy box, I do have a video on the buy box rotating. So if you guys are interested in, check that out. You can put it in the comments of this video after we're done, or you can just search the videos on my channel. I go through a step-by-step sequence of how I determine if the buy box is rotating prior to making an investment. And then from there, if I make the investment and I've determined prior to investing that the buy box is rotating, and then I invest and I have inventory and it's not rotating, meaning I'm not getting any sales, we have to make the decision to liquidate, right? I can't sit on inventory for too long. I have, and I am. It's just for one reason or another, because of this buy box algorithm that's slightly changed. We've had to make some shifts in our business and kind of change courses, but I make it a goal to hold inventory for no more than 30 days with my exclusive accounts. I'll make exceptions for that, 2 to 3 months, just because that's getting me a very exclusive, either an exclusive relationship or a very selective relationship. So I don't have a choice but to hold more inventory, which I'm fine with. But 30 days, 45-day max, especially if there's a number of competitors on the listing. If we have accounts with 10 brands and we are only purchasing from 2 brands as they are offering good prices, will the other brands reject the wholesale account with us? If we have accounts with 10 brands and we are only purchasing from 2 brands as they're, I'm not sure I understand that question. If you mean that you have accounts with 10 brands and you're only purchasing 2 products from them that they're offering good prices on, will the other brands reject? Again, I'm not entirely understanding that question, but that gives me an idea of what you might be referring to, which is, sometimes brands get frustrated because Amazon sellers, what they do is, the brand might have 100 products in the catalog and they purchase 1, right? Again, that's not really helping the brand too much, because anyone can do that. They purchase 1 because that's the only one that sells well on Amazon. Way you can get around this is introduce a bundle, right? Bundle 1 or 2 or 3 of their products together, or bundle the well-selling product with a product that you already carry, or launch a new product if the sales if the relationship is profitable enough, of course, to put in that work. So that would be a way around that. We're approaching an hour, guys. A little bit longer than I thought, but we had some questions. I wanted to get those answered. We're going to close out the session now. So if you guys have any questions, you know where to find me on YouTube. If you're still sticking around, guys, I really appreciate it. I hope you learned a lot from this session. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button and hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you want to stay up to date on all of the future wholesale content that I will be putting out. So thanks guys. Thanks guys once again. If you have any questions, drop a comment. I do my best to answer the comments in a timely manner. And we will see you over on YouTube. We're closing out the session now, and I hope you guys have a good night.